Welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. I'm your host, David Craydon. When we come back, what was this RCMP Commissioner interview really about? And don't believe some of the BS you're seeing out there on YouTube. It's garbage. And the coming bloodbath in the Liberal Party. Plus, some magnificent video from yesterday's Donald Trump rally in Madison, at Madison Square Garden in New York City. When we come back.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need the resolve to resist.
Yes, please like the show. Please like the show. We're being suppressed big time by YouTube right now, and the viewership just dropped like a rock over the weekend. Guess you can't talk about immigration. Yeah, must be it. So I encourage you, share this broadcast with your friends and family. Like the broadcast right now. Give us a comment. If we're doing something wrong, tell us. I listen. I read. I've been a journalist or something like that all of my adult life. I started in journalism, believe it or not. I started in journalism when I was in high school. I used to write like a column from a youth perspective for my local paper in Comox, British Columbia. Anybody out there watching from Comox? God, I wish I was back. It's crazy in BC, but I miss my hometown at times when I'm sitting here. The craziness in Ottawa, I miss it. So anyone watching today from Comox, hello, or from Vancouver Island, welcome. Thank you for watching today. It's October 28th, 2024. Is it really? 2024, yes. And got some great clips for you. But before I do, I wanted to remind you all, we've got that Canadian Bill of Rights. T-shirt is now a hoodie. Yep. I had it on the other day, and I totally forgot to mention what I was wearing. I don't know. I usually like to wear a shirt, tie, sometimes even a jacket. That's my style. I like to look professional because I think I am. But this is a great hoodie. I am a Canadian, a free Canadian. This is the best seller we have in terms of the T-shirts right now. I knew it would be because it talks about free speech. And this is what this program is all about. I'll be talking about free speech until the day I die. And or they take me away, which is always a possibility. We talk about these things, don't we? Like they're possible. We talk about these things like they potentially might happen. Like they're illusionary for the most part because we really don't believe we're going to lose free speech. But we're that close to Canada. Bill C-63 just received its second reading. I don't see much pushback from the conservative opposition on this. There should be a lot more. I know Poilievre's opposed to it, yeah, and I know there's some great people in the conservative caucus, even on the front bench, who love free speech, but they're not making this a priority, and that's very sad. I understand what's going on with their communications people. I used to work there, but I don't agree with it. I can understand it, but not agree with it. But I wanted to go into this crazy interview with RCMP Commissioner Mike Duheme. Now, a lot of folks put this up yesterday. This is from, Vasi Capella's, the patron saint of YouTube people, YouTube shows, especially small c conservative ones who just think she's wonderful because she asks the occasional tough question of liberals. Doing her job, folks. That's what she's there for. Stop being sycophantic with journalists. They love it as much as politicians. Hold them to a high standard. That's what they need to be held to. And stop fawning over them. It really is disgusting. But this interview has been widely misinterpreted, or people just didn't watch it, and they put stupid things up on their YouTube channels about Oh, he's saying something really outrageous here. What's shocking about this interview is he says nothing. 17 minutes. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. But Duheme says virtually nothing in 17 minutes. Now, that's a great politician. It's a lousy RCMP officer. It's a lousy RCMP commissioner, to say the least. This is Barney Fife. This guy, when you watch this interview, you get the idea you're watching Boss Hogg from the Dukes of Hazzard, just saying, hey, folks, we're doing our job. Just great. Thank you very much. Nothing to see here. And by the way, if we don't arrest anybody, it's because you can't hold us to the gold standard all the time. The gold standard meaning they make an arrest. I'll say more about that in a minute. But no, contrary to what you might have seen on YouTube, this guy does not implicate the prime minister. They're not threatening the prime minister with charges. They have no intention of charging the prime minister, Justin Trudeau, with anything. Listen to him. They're going after the whistleblower from CSIS who revealed the information about Chinese interference. That's who they're trying to charge. And they haven't even done that in 18 months. The RCMP, this is why they say arresting somebody now is the gold standard, because they can't arrest people unless it's for speeding. They do that very well. This is what it's a constabulary force now. And that's about all it is. But is the RCMP in the pocket of Justin Trudeau? Listen to this guy. It is just pathetic. But it's clearly he is not going after Justin Trudeau. And if you listen to this interview and got that idea, you didn't listen too well, or you just simply aren't getting it. He's not going after Justin Trudeau. He has no intention of doing that. And if you put that on your YouTube channel, it's not true. So this is why I'm telling you, the RCMP commissioner is basically saying hands off. This interview is so outrageous. He begins by saying that the threat level is way down since Trudeau ejected all those Indian diplomats. What threat level? That these Indian diplomats are no longer sitting around plotting murder and mayhem against what, Khalistani terrorists? He doesn't even explain himself. This man is so out of it. But when he talks about the Green Slush Fund, it's incredible, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's just listen for a minute. This is what this man is all about.
The issue of foreign interference. I wanted to ask you a question about Chinese foreign interference and a number of months ago, I think it was March of 2023, the RCMP confirmed that it was investigating the leak of classified information, that there was Chinese interference, the stuff that started getting reported by the Globe and Mail. Is that investigation still ongoing?
There's still ongoing investigation on the matter.
And nobody has been charged?
Not yet. You can understand, you got to appreciate the complexity of some of these files. It's just not one individual, but following, I'll give you an example, not necessarily particular in this case, but if there's a trail of money or information, who's involved, are these people all here, are these people on the international scene? So sometimes an investigation can be very complex.
Do you have any, and I take your point always, that these are hard to predict, but it's been going on since March of 2023. Do you anticipate that there will be charges at some point?
There's, I don't want to say the gold standard, but we are always investigating.
I don't want to say the gold standard, but I will say it anyway. This is what this guy, he loves this cliche or this metaphor he uses now for an arrest. It's called the gold standard. Don't hold me to the gold standard, please. Don't do that, because we're not that good. The RCMP has become like the FBI. It's a political institution in the service of the government, and it's not above politics. And watching Mike Duheme is just absolutely horrifying. That's all I can say. But who is he talking about charging? They're not talking about Justin Trudeau or anybody in the Liberal government. They're talking about going after whistleblowers.
With the objective of laying charges, but if a disruption like we did in this case with the government of India is satisfactory and meets the need, we can do that. But right now, we're still investigating.
And then I just want to ask you about one other issue that's been.
All right, before we get into the Green Slush Fund, think about this for a minute. The RCMP is not investigating any Khalistani terrorism on our shores. The RCMP failed to make a single arrest in the Air India crash over Lockerbie, Scotland in 1985. Hey, that was 40 years ago next year. Still no arrests. What is going on with this so-called police force?
Meeting through Parliament Hill. It's actually got Parliament Hill at a standstill. It's a decision by an order by the House of Commons to ask the government to turn over documents related to something called Sustainable Development Technology Canada, SDTC for short. It's basically like a green tech fund that the Auditor General said was completely mired in conflicts of interest. The docs, what's interesting here is the order then provides for the documents to go, unredacted documents to go directly to the RCMP. The first question I have is, are you investigating what went on at the SDTC? Because a couple of months ago...
Okay, wait for it. You won't believe this response. If you haven't seen this yet, you won't believe it. It's all on a stick. I haven't looked at it yet, but doesn't seem to be anything wrong here. Doesn't seem to be anything worthy of charges. This is just simply inappropriate. This is incredible.
So the RCMP offered one answer, and then it seems as though lately there is an investigation. Are you investigating?
So I can confirm that we are investigating. And we're going, we did receive the motion that was put forth in the House of Commons. We did receive a USB key that we have stored for the moment. We're still going through available information that's out.
Okay, here is the sleeper announcement. He calls it a key. It's a memory stick. This is what he got. He got a memory stick, and it's in his pocket someplace. And he hasn't looked at it yet. But he's investigating. How in the hell is he investigating when he hasn't even looked at the memory stick?
There to conduct investigation. And there are concerns. I've shared my concerns when it comes to the Charter of Rights. We're dealing with two different...
Oh, wait. The Charter of Rights. Where have we heard that one? Oh, yes, the government house leader. Right. She kept talking about the fact that if this information was given to the RCMP, it would be a violation of Canadians' charter rights. And that would be an unlethal search and seizure. Right. That's where he's getting this. Now, is the RCMP repeating the talking points of the Trudeau government? Apparently so. Now, that's what people should have got out of this interview, is that the RCMP would appear to be in the back pocket of the Liberal government.
Different process here. You're dealing with the legislative branch and the executive branch. And the concern that's been shared is the fact that we operate within a judicial process that's very strict. So if I need documents, I need grounds to go and get a search warrant to get those documents. And by going the other way, you're bringing documents that perhaps the police would never have any grounds to obtain these documents. So it's that balance. But what we're doing right now is we're going through everything that's publicly available, and then we'll assess what the next steps are.
What's a USB key? Like, what does that have to do?
Those little insert keys for the.
But like, what's that? What does that mean?
So
like,
So the law clerk. So what we had requested to facilitate our work, it was to.
Do these people do any work? Yeah, so he got his little key, but he hasn't bothered to use it to open anything.
Make sure that every document was identified if it's parliamentary privilege and how it was obtained, because you got to understand that there's different process where the Office of the Attorney General, when she's doing her work, she operates through a certain set of rules, but those rules might be different when you come into criminal space. So you just can't take a document from her and bring it in. There's a process to do that. So the information was downloaded on a stick, on a USB stick, and we have it in our possession.
And
how nice. And he's still sitting on that stick. You think he could get a legal opinion within 24 hours? How bloody slow are these people? Or are they interested at all in pursuing this matter? No, they're not interested in pursuing this matter. Just looking like they're interested in pursuing
You haven't looked through it yet, though.
We haven't gotten to that. We're exhausting everything we can in the public domain first.
Exhausting everything. These people are just incredible. This is your National Police Force on parade here, folks. This is your RCMP Commissioner putting it all out there.
That stick that you have, is it your impression that contains information that you otherwise would have had to, obtain a warrant to obtain? Because there's still documents outstanding. That's why we're at a paralysis, basically, right?
Yeah, there's still
There's
still documents out there, and again, I haven't seen what's on the stick, and I'll just comment to the fact that we're going to everything that's in the public domain.
He hasn't even seen what's on the stick, but he's assuming it's something he can't read. What kind of a police force have we got?
The ethics commissioner also has a report in which we're going through. If I go back to the auditor general, she did not see any criminality in her review, and
no criminality. There's nothing wrong here. This is another key phrase takeaway from this interview. The auditor general didn't see any criminality, so therefore we shouldn't be seeing any criminality. So what is wrong here? We've got a green slush fund where the government is giving away contracts to friends of the Liberal government. No criminality there, folks. Nothing wrong here. And this is what the RCMP constantly does. If Justin Trudeau is in any way implicated, the Liberal government is any way positioned to be charged, well, we really have to look at this a lot more closely, and it's probably going to take us 3 more years to do that. This is a pathetic joke.
by her mandate is if she does see any criminality, she should stop her investigation and refer it to the RCMP, which hasn't happened. We're going through the...
So why are you investigating them if you weren't a few months ago?
Well, we did. There was a complaint, and if we receive a complaint, we're investigating. So. And
where did that complaint originate?
I'd have to go back. I'm not quite sure. I'd love to tell you. It's no secret, but I just don't have it with me.
Oh my God. I can't recall that one. He doesn't know where the complaint came from that initiated the investigation. He has to check his files for that one. You didn't write it on a sticky note, Mike? No, you haven't got that one on hand. This RCMP has become a source of national embarrassment. And that's all I'm going to say. And if you watched that interview and you said, good for Mike, coming clean, telling Canadians what they want and need to know, he's told us nothing. That whole interview is 17 minutes. If you want a snoozer, watch the whole 17 minutes because Mike says absolutely nothing of consequence, except it's what he doesn't say that's interesting. And it's a couple of lines like, yeah, I've been sitting on a memory stick now for a couple of weeks, but I haven't looked at it yet. What a farce this has become. Now, let's get what's happening at Justin Trudeau this week. Yes, I know you're all wondering, well, Justin Trudeau is going to be running in the next election because his MPs are too gutless to do anything. Now, they might vote with the Conservatives in the next non-confidence motion. Now, I've got Tom Mulcair, this clip here. He's probably the only one at CTV who actually tells the truth about things. Now, he thinks Justin should go. He falsely assumes there's a job out there for Justin where he can do a good job at it because Justin's completely unqualified to do anything except lie to you as your prime minister. But let's listen to this because Tom Mulcair talks about the potential for a bloodbath in the Liberal Party.
Is Tom Mulcair, CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader. Good to see you, Tom.
Good to be with you, Renee.
So Justin Trudeau has been given this deadline of Monday to decide on whether he'll step down. That's just a day away. What are you anticipating?
Okay, so that we're at Monday right now. Justin Trudeau's already said he's considered. We're not no surprises here today, folks. He's going to say I'm staying on. Now, do his MPs, do these 24, and it's more than 24, do these caucus members have the guts to say, okay, there will be consequences for you, Justin? That's the question.
Anticipating from the Prime Minister.
I don't think that Trudeau's the type to respond to somebody else's deadline, but I am very much aware from people that I've been speaking with at the highest level of the Liberal Party that he is giving this serious thought. And there is an alternate plan afoot where they would use prorogation. And essentially the House has been shut down by procedural maneuvers by the opposition parties led by the Conservatives. Nothing's moving forward. That gives Trudeau a bit of an out to use that technique. Prorogation is just suspending Parliament and you start afresh with a new throne speech, that sort of thing. And it would give the party and him time to think about where this is going. People have to understand, a political leader like Trudeau has no choice but to say he's staying around. That's not surprising. I'll give you an example from this week. Montreal's mayor, Valérie Plante, entering her 8th year of office, has been in interviews nonstop, and she always gets the question, are you running again? And despite the fact that there was a majority in the population that didn't want her to run again, every single answer was, of course I'm running again. We're doing a great job, etc. This week, out of the blue, for some people, she said she's not running. I wasn't surprised at all because I knew that she had no choice but to say she was going to stay in office. And that's the same thing with Justin Trudeau. He's starting his 10th year in office in just a few days. And he knows that there's a best before date for everyone in politics. He's also relatively young. He's in his early 50s. He's still got another full career ahead of him doing other stuff that he might like to do and probably make a heck of a lot more money and have more of a life than you have in politics. But he's not going to say anything different than what he's been saying, that he's sticking around, everything's going great. He knows he's facing trouble with his caucus. He knows he's facing trouble with the executive of his party. And he knows that there are able people waiting in the wings, not just good people in his cabinet, but people like Christy Clark, former BC Premier, Mark Carney. Those are top names that would be able to perhaps change things for the Liberals, because right now the resistance that they're getting, Renee, is against Trudeau personally, and their numbers are tanking because of Trudeau personally. Is that fair or not? Another question. It's a reality, and he knows it, and he's going to have to act on it.
Now, these MPs are apparently threatening consequences if Trudeau stays on. What could be on the table?
Well, what could be on the table is them being more open about it. We know that a couple of dozen people have signed this letter asking him to step aside. You might start hearing there's some people in the party who are rumored or tipped to have been starting to tell Trudeau. I know at least one who has been telling Trudeau, look, it's time to regard this as your legacy mandate. It's time to move along. And of course, he's saying that he's not going to be doing that even to them. But there will come a time when there'll be a critical mass of resistance, Renee, both amongst the people who run the party, the grassroots organizers, riding association presidents and the like, and of course the people in his own caucus. So there will come a time where he's going to have to reckon with that. Is he painting himself into more and more of a corner? It depends on his explanation when he decides to change his mind. Plante had a very simple, fresh explanation. She said, I don't have the energy to do another term of office, and I'm leaving, despite the fact that up until now she had always been saying the same thing as Trudeau. Will Trudeau have something a little bit better? Will he be going on to another job that we don't know about? Perhaps. But he's paid a heavy personal price for his political career. Some say that he doesn't have anything else to do because all he really knows is politics. I think that's a bit short. I think the guy's got talent and ability, and we'll find out what his future plans are. If he does decide to stick around, it will, of course, be, it's a tough term, but a bloodbath for the Liberals in the next election.
A bloodbath for the Liberals in the next election. That's the takeaway from Tom Mulcair here, who says exactly what we all know. If Trudeau stays on, there will be a bloodbath in the next election for the Liberals. The party will be decimated. It will be obliterated. There will be no longer a Liberal Party except with a rump, maybe 5 to 10 seats. It will be a fourth party in the House of Commons. Now, Trudeau, of course, as I've said, his ego is paramount. It's all about Justin Trudeau. So I still don't think they're going to prorogue because I believe they want these bills to pass. But he's not going to get past the spring, certainly. And I'm still thinking the odds are still there for a November election because Trudeau thinks, do it now and I can get away with this. I want to show you this. Let's end on a high note. Donald Trump, the next president of the United States, will be reelected on November 5th. I predict that. He had a Madison Square Garden rally yesterday. Beautiful. Almost 50 years to the day that Frank Sinatra had 3 concerts at Madison Square Garden in 1974. It was October 1974. This was a absolute moment of brilliance for Donald Trump. No matter whether you think Donald Trump is wonderful or you really have your doubts, he's a hell of a lot better than anything we have going right now in Canada in terms of immediate change. Because we can hope and pray that there's going to be a change in government in Canada, but it's not tangible yet. November 5th is coming up next week, and that's tangible. Let's listen to a bit of Donald Trump.
And we will achieve energy independence, And we will do something. We want it so badly. We're going to do something. You know what we're going to do? Front row Joes. You know, I got front row Joes here. I got the ladies from North Carolina, number 249. This is the 200, and you look so beautiful. We have a lot of people. They followed us, but we're going to do something. The ladies can tell you what we're going to do. We're going to drill a baby drill. And I will terminate the Green New Scam.
Yes.
And we'll cut your energy prices in half, 50%, within 1 year from January 20th. Is the fake news hearing that? Whoa! Look how much. Wow, that's a lot of fake news.
You hear that? He's going to get rid of the green new scam. Don't you wish Poilievre had the guts to say it that way? I do.
That is a lot of fake news. Look at that. Wow. That's got to be a record, Mr. Speaker. I think that's a record. That is a lot of fakers back there. To bring back millions of jobs, we will give our companies the lowest taxes, the lowest energy costs, the lowest regulatory burdens, and free access to the best and biggest market on the planet. Remember this, if we keep going like this, we won't have the biggest and the best. We won't have a market, we won't have a country. But only for those who make their product here in the USA and hire American workers for the job. And if these companies don't make their products here, then they will pay a very stiff tariff when they send their products into the United States for the privilege of competing with our workers and our now protected companies. We're going to protect our companies. They're not leaving anymore. They're not leaving anymore. We're also going to pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act, meaning if China or any other country,
I want you to hear this bit at the end
and I will
here.
protect the birthright of the face of the earth.
This is great.
It's bigger than inflation. It's bigger than the economy. What they're doing to our country, they're allowing criminals from all over the world to enter our country. Over the past 4 years, Kamala Harris has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted upon our people. She has violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border, and unleashed an army of migrant gangs who are waging a campaign of violence and terror against our citizens. There has never been anything like it anywhere in the world for any country. Kamala has imported criminal migrants from prisons and jails, insane asylums and mental institutions from all around the world, from Venezuela to the Congo. A lot of people are coming from the Congo prisons. They're coming from all over the world. Over the last month, 181 countries violated our laws. And she has resettled them into your communities to prey upon innocent American citizens. But the day I take the oath of office, the migrant invasion of our country ends and the restoration of our country begins.
Now that is a reason for hope. Mind you, in Canada, where are those deportations going to go? Potentially north? I've said that before. So it's a concern for Canada. I want to end on this here. This is a story I did for the Post Millennial. Yeah, a lot of you are concerned about what's happening in Canada with our medical assistance in dying program, otherwise known as assisted suicide, otherwise known as euthanasia. This is where doctors are giving lethal injections to patients. And I can tell you, in some cases, these doctors are just really excited about it. There was a Canadian doctor from British Columbia. I did another story on this recently on a documentary that was being made in the UK about how some Canadian doctors just think this is wonderful. They feel like they're doing a public service by committing euthanasia. And believe me, when my mother was recently in trouble, I was very concerned that somebody would suggest euthanasia is a way out because, my goodness, she's suffering from a incurable disease. So why not? And I had to fight tooth and nail to ensure my mother's health and safety was respected because I don't trust the medical system anymore in Canada. I don't trust all doctors. But this is a story about how some Canadian doctors express guilt over euthanizing patients because a lot of these patients aren't being told what's at stake. They're not being told any other options. And I did a story about a woman from Victoria a year ago who was suffering from cancer. I think it was abdominal cancer. And before she even was able to get any treatment for cancer, and of course, it was, I think, second stage or third stage, she was told about MAID. She was saying, one of your options, of course, since this cancer might kill you, is you could take your life right now. And you're eligible, as they love to say that word, eligible for MAID. You're eligible for the Canadian Euthanasia Project, which has made Canada the assisted suicide capital of the world. And of course, she said, well, what about getting an operation? Well, that's 12 months down the line. You know what waiting lists are like in Canada. I'm sorry to shift topics here, but if I don't mention this today, I probably won't the rest of the week. But this is heavy on my heart because, like I say, I had to fight for my mom recently because she's out west, 3,000 miles apart, and I had to ensure that her life was respected. And there's nobody else out there, virtually nobody else out there who can fight for her, who's there by her side. And I had to fight for her because when I see how widespread euthanasia is becoming in Canada, it is a national tragedy. And this is a story about doctors who are saying, I don't feel good about this anymore. I don't feel good about euthanasia. I don't think it's something we should be celebrating. But this is another reason, of course, to get rid of Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government. Because what does this government celebrate? What are they most enthused about? What do they really get excited about? They love to talk about the new free school lunches for kids. And that hasn't even happened yet. They love to talk about the dental care programs that really are applicable to very few Canadians. They love to talk about free birth control. But you know what they really love to talk about? They love to talk about how abortion is available on demand, unrestricted in Canada for the whole pregnancy. You can get an abortion anytime in Canada. And the Liberals love that. They think that's wonderful. They think that defines Canada, where we just can abort babies faster than any other country in the world. And that's what makes Justin Trudeau very proud to be Canadian. That's what makes Chrystia Freeland very proud to be Canadian. And when Mark Holland really gets misty-eyed, it's about talking about this euthanasia program. He just loves this euthanasia program. He thinks it's fulfilling a need. So he's the euthanasia czar. And these are the policies that define the Trudeau government and define Justin Trudeau and all of his top-level cabinet ministers. I've heard Melanie Joly go on about how wonderful their abortion policy is too. They all love it. That's for them is what defines Canada. It's a policy, it's a culture of death. That's what defines the Liberal government, and that's what defines Justin Trudeau. And that's why I don't care if he leaves the party right now as its leader or if he's defeated in the next election as soon as possible. I want this guy out. I want this clown to leave the public scene because he's done so much damage to Canada and Canadians. It's not worth it. And by the way, this story was covered by ABC News. Private forum show Canadian doctors struggle with euthanizing vulnerable patients. I should have put myself back in the frame there, and I forget to do that sometimes when I'm talking. Thanks for listening today. Believe me, we can take back this country. Don't give up hope. You watch that bit about Donald Trump. We're no more than a year away from that in Canada. I think we're a lot sooner from taking back this country from people who just want to rule your lives, who want to tell you what to do. What does it mean to be Canadian? Why do we have elections? What do we want to achieve with the next election? We want to tell the government not that I need more from you, but I need less from you. Not tell the government or the political parties vying to be the next government that we want them to dispense more money to us, more programs, more largesse. No, we want them to dispense less. Get the hell out of my life. And Pierre Poilievre said that one time, and that comment, that statement resonated with more Canadians than anything else he's ever said. I can tell you that. Get out of my life. Leave me alone. And he said it. Mind your own business. Let us say that to the Trudeau government. And I've gone way over time today. Thank you, folks, for watching. We love you. God bless you. I'm giving you all the news you need to know so we can all continue to resolve to resist. Back again tomorrow.